Hi YouTube.
Hey G friends and family, it's your boy GB Reviews, and today I am talking to you about the difference between USDA prime cut meat, select cut meat, and choice cut meat. And so today we're going to have a comparison between, I'll talk to you about all the different types, but I only have select and choice, which are the two top tiers. So select is the top, choice is the second, and then you have your final, which is select. So as I was saying, I've gotten questions about, hey GB, what type of meat do you use? Like when you cook in steaks, does it really matter? You can get like cheap meat, you get it from your own butcher. What is the difference between like Wagyu and all those things? And so we'll talk about some of those other distinctions later, but what I would like to talk about today is, again, the distinction between prime, select, and choice. And so those are the three really main distinctions of USDA beef, and it'll come down to what we call marbling. Marbling is the amount of fat content that you will find in the meat, and while it sounds counterintuitive, because you would think, why would you want more fat in your meat? The fat in the meat, or the amount of fat content in the meat, will make the meat more tender and more flavorful. And so here I have two cuts of meat, USDA prime meat and USDA choice meat. And so I didn't have select because I rarely buy select. Select is the lowest grade of beef that the USDA rates in the kind of the top scales. It's fine, it just doesn't have any marbling in it for the most part. It's very slight. It's good for grilling, you'll get a good flavor out of it, but it's not, if you marinate it, it's fine, but it's just not very flavorful. And I'm gonna show you why. So this is a USDA prime steak. If you look at this, I'm gonna pat it off just so we can touch it a little bit without all the blood on it. But I want you to see, if you look at it, you see that there is fat going throughout this steak. It is marbled perfectly. This is a prime cut. There's not too much fat on on the sides. It's trimmed properly, so it has enough fat cap that when you roast it, or excuse me, when you grill it or you sear it, you're gonna get a nice color, a nice flavoring, and enough fat is in there that it's nice. And this is probably a perfect cut of steak. When you talk about some of the higher things like Wagyu and things like that, they just have more marbling in it and in better fashion. This is a prime cut, oh no, excuse me, this is a choice cut. So this is prime, perfect marbling, fat cap not too big, but it's still there, so you can do searing. And then this is a choice cut. So a choice cut, you're gonna find there's still marbling in there, but not nearly as much marbling as you would find in a regular steak, or I should say in a prime cut steak. But this is great, still good for grilling, gonna give you a lot of flavor. You could just salt and pepper this. The fat cap is a bit thick here, so probably what I would do if I was cutting this is I would cut this down a little bit because it's just a lot of fat. Unless you sear it, like you could sear it like this on a grill and sear this part down, like heavily seared, and then it'd be a nice, actually, it'd be a nice complement to a meal. I actually like meat fat. But if you see it's marbled pretty well. There's not a lot of marbling. Again, I'm gonna show you the difference. If you look at this, see how this steak, fat is through it, but it doesn't look fatty. This one does not have a lot of fat in it. It's not marbled well, but it's fatty, right? And so, still very good cuts. So, price-wise, let me just tell you what a normal price-wise, these are New York strips, by the way. So, on a regular New York strip from a butcher shop, a prime choice cut of meat, this is gonna run you about somewhere between $18 and $20 a pound. That being said, if you go to Costco, you probably can get this probably for $12 a pound. Choice cut meat is gonna run you around somewhere between $15 and $12 a pound. If you go to Costco, you can get it somewhere between $10.99 and $9.99 a pound. And then select cuts of meat, they typically don't run too expensive. It's somewhere between $9.98. The regular price in a butcher shop is probably like $9.99 a pound to about $7.99 a pound. But you can find it in your local grocery store, the USDA select cuts. You can find that in your local grocery store probably for $5.99 a pound. Now, the reason I say, and the reason I make those distinctions is your prime cuts of meat typically go to restaurants and hotels. Restaurants, hotels get prime cuts of meat, and that's why you find that there is a markup. You're like, oh, I make these steaks at home, and you know, it's gonna be the same. It is sort of the same, except you don't get this level of marbling when you buy steaks from your grocery store. It is very difficult at most grocery stores to find prime cuts. You can find choice cuts, and you will find choice cuts, and there's a label on it that says USDA choice cuts. This goes to restaurants as well, but not your high-end restaurants. Your high-end restaurants, you need to go with something like a prime cut or Wagyu style. Even like your Omaha steaks will be prime cuts. That's why when people say, well, why is Omaha so expensive? It's because you're getting prime cuts of meat. The choice cuts of meat, again, are good. And then most people who are grilling and just cooking at home, they're looking for the least expensive cuts of meat. You're probably getting the USDA select cut. So that's just a quick kind of tutorial. I didn't want to go through too much. I'm going to actually cook these up, and then we'll see how they taste and see what the difference in taste is. But this is basically your difference in the cuts of meat. This is prime cut, heavily marbled, lightly marbled, choice cut, and then if you have select cut, it's not going to be marbled at all, using the same types of cuts of meat. So with that, it's your boy GB Reviews. Have a happy holiday weekend. Do some grilling out. I'm going to throw this video up probably this weekend, so you'll see it during the weekend, but you're probably going to be grilling for the next the next few weeks, because that's what people do in the month of July. So anyway, it's your boy GB Reviews. Thank you for watching. Please hit the algorithm, please hit the like button for the algorithm, and please subscribe to my channel. And thanks for rocking with me. Subscribe and like below, and get that prime cut of meat.
Subscribe, but like below.